Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I, we are finishing up our season recaps for the final four teams of the 2023 NFL season. So, doing the Detroit Lions here, and we're going to show kind of where they ranked out overall with their team offense and team defense if statistics. And then in the second part of the video, we are going to break down then the key free agents and just their overall draft picks and team needs leading into the 2024 offseason. So, Ryan, if you want to pull up these slides right here. So, Lions ended up going with ended up having a 12-5 season overall, one of the top offenses in the league. And I think that's going to be one of the things too. We've talked about this so much with one of the things that made the Patriots so successful was the consistency that Tom Brady had with his coordinators throughout his time.
Yeah.
Like Josh McDaniels was there for what? 10
or
11 years.
Yeah, he was there for 3 years, and I think he came back for 7 after. And the last year was a Mac Jones year.
Yes. So I bring that example up immediately because with Ben Johnson coming back, I think it's just this offense is only going to get better. They need to. I think a sneaky need is going to be at the receiver position, get another like lethal receiver because James Williams is starting to develop into that number one guy. Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's enough said. He's top 5, top 10 receiver in the league. And so we'll get into that here in a little bit. But I think him coming back as offensive coordinator, the main core group of guys on offense will be sticking around. It's going to be that same terminology. It's going to be finding that rhythm. I think we've seen that a lot when go look at the Philadelphia Eagles last year. That offense in 2022 was unstoppable. And then they lose Shane Steichen, and then something seems to happen here where they just were a little bit off rhythm. Just maybe it was new lingo, new language. Also, the defense sucked. They lost their defensive coordinator also too, so that's another thing as well. And the Philadelphia Eagles. Not the Lions. Actually, I'm not sure about that, so we'll have to double check. But in general, though, him coming back, I think the core identity of that team stays there. They have a couple of interior offensive linemen that are hitting free agency that we're going to touch on. But then on the defensive side of the ball, in general, I still think they had one of the top defenses in the league. Need to address a little bit, I think, in the secondary, and that's where I kind of want to throw it over to you. What are some of the key areas you think on the defensive side of the ball that they really struggled with, which is why they had the fifth or sixth worst pass defense in the league?
Yeah, so one of the things I do want to kind of touch here, they were kind of littered with injuries on the back half of the ball on the defensive side. So Cameron Sutton came in. I think he missed the entire season after like week 2 or 3. CJ Gardner-Johnson was in and out of the lineup as well. Brian Branch suffered some injuries throughout the season also. And then outside of those guys, they didn't really have any like top end talent. So I definitely think here in this first round, that's going to be an area for them to really target going forward. And you can see here, they were the 27th ranked pass defense in the league. They did have the 2nd ranked rushing defense in the league. Part of that is, I think their pass defense was so not good that the run defense, I think, wasn't quite put under the same amount of pressure.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say they weren't quite put on the same amount of pressure as this passing defense was. I think teams were like, let's kind of spread them out, clear out this box, and because we know our receivers have good matchups against these corners here. So that to me was kind of a lot of team strategies there.
I also think too, kind of looking at it, they do have a really good front seven. So
they do.
Particularly Aiden Hutchinson, I think is a lot of that. He has so much attention, which gives opportunities to the other
Jack
guys.
Campbell had a great rookie season as well. So.
But I think another thing, too, to add on to that is this offense was so good and they could put up points and control the clock so much that teams got behind and it's like, shoot, like we have to throw the ball. It's like, for example, like week 16 and 18 now, of course, they weren't playing the Minnesota Vikings at their best. But still, Nick Mullins threw for 373 yards and 359 yards. I know Nick Mullins didn't play the first half of the first game, but he still threw for like 330-something yards in that second half. Of that week 16 game. And then on the flip side, they were down the whole time. So they only had 17 rushing yards and then 89 rushing yards in those 2 games. And there are a lot of games that were like that just in general throughout the season where they were just winning a majority of the game and then they can control the clock. And the other team is like, we got to play catch up somehow. I think there are weaknesses on the secondary that they need to improve on, particularly in the corner spot. But in general, though, I think that's going to be kind of a key area that they need to improve on. Let's move on though now to like looking forward to the 2024 offseason as well, because we already touched on they have one of the most cap space among any of the teams. I think they're 7th or 8th as of right now. So it's $48.1 million. We are recording this Monday after the Super Bowl. I think I put that in like Saturday night, so to say. So maybe it varied by 100,000 or so. But once when that final cap space gets set, then that will be the official number. But in general, though, they have a lot of cap space. They have some key guys as well that are hitting the free agency. Holly Vitae and Jonah Jackson, they're starting right and left guard. Vitae, he actually got injured in the middle of the season and actually didn't really play too much. Graham Glasgow played a lot at the right guard. He actually is also a free agent as well. So some key pieces on the interior offensive line. I mentioned the receiver position as well. Josh Reynolds and DPJ are both going to be hitting free agency. DPJ, I think they'll walk. He didn't have that big of an impact when they traded for him here. Josh Reynolds, I think, is an interesting one. Maybe they want to bring back for that veteran experience. But still, I think there's an area to improve if you want to get a more legit lethal weapon as a like number 3 receiver for the team. But then the key players also that are hitting free agency on the defense side of both the Kindle Vidor and Emmanuel Mosley, 2 secondary members from there. And I mentioned those just because those are kind of the 3 areas I think that they need to address in the offseason. As the secondary, interior offensive line, whether it's just re-sign those 3 guys who were more than perfectly fine and capable this year. And then also then address that 3rd receiver position. Which are some of the ones that you mentioned here. Now you mentioned D-line as well. What are some areas you think that they can improve on in the defensive line?
To me, I think getting just another defensive tackle to get in that rotation, then also getting another edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. They were 24th in sacks this year, and Aiden Hutchinson had a really solid year. I just don't think there was a whole lot of other pass rush production outside of him at a really high level. And so that to me, I think definitely not a probably top 100 need, but I think I look at guys as like Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State that it could be good value there. He's slightly undersized, but he's a really good athlete, plays with good play strength. Like he could come in and be a 3-down player for them, or at least in a rotation opposite of Aiden Hutchinson as well. And so that's more just kind of what I meant there. I think they have some talented young players up there. I just think they need another edge rusher and then probably a little bit more depth as well. So,
yeah, they're going to be going into this offseason with a lot of good opportunity here, picking late first round, and they're going to have positional guys there. I mean, they're X receivers that I'm thinking that they could fit. I know we've mocked Keon Coleman to them several times. A super athletic
Xavier Legette is another freak athlete.
Xavier Legette's another good guy. If they just want to get another shifty receiver, I will say, I mean, I know he's probably kind of similar to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I mean, I love Ladd McConkey in nearly any offensive system. And so, but at the same time, though, too, if we're talking defensive line, I know we've mocked him here. He's got a high ceiling, needs a lot of development, but a guy like Chop Robinson, who's just freaky athletic, you go put him on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. I think he can get 4 or 5 sacks his rookie year. Just keep him developing.
Yeah, and he's a good run defender. He sets the edge really well, plays with good physicality. I actually really like the way this is gonna sound. I like his like swagger and like kind of how he dresses. Plays like it's 1980, and just like he might have tape on his fingers, but like other than that, no gloves, like no wristbands, no armbands or anything. It's just shoulder pads and arms. And, it's just like a good like I don't know. He's not afraid to get dirty either.
Yeah.
So.
I will say, just to wrap up the corner position. I mean, there's going to be corners there that they can take, but we've kind of broken off like the top tier corners, like as 5 guys, so to say. The Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid, Terry Arnold, and then I'm now throwing Quinton Mitchell in there. Maybe Enos Rakestraw. Could be thrown in there, or maybe he's that middle tier guy. But there is kind of a gap, and so like. They could go get some of that second tier guys like the Kamari Lassiter, maybe Cameron Kitchens as a safety. They want to address that position.
I don't think safety is really the need there because I think at that spot they were really more injured.
That's fair.
I just think it's going to be an interesting kind of like back and forth, and it's just going to kind of they're going to have to see how the draft falls because there's 9 or 10 tackles. There's 8-ish receivers that I think are going to be in that conversation. Then you got to throw in at least the top 3 quarterbacks, and then you still have JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. Right, so that's another 6 picks right there. And then they do have a decent bit of draft capital to potentially move up. So they have the first, a second, they have 2/3, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh. So like they have a decent bit to work with there. If they want to move up from 29, a package maybe 92 and get up into the high 20s, I think that like that's a very reasonable move for them to make. If they want to go after like let's say a Kool-Aid or a Nate Wiggins falls for one reason or another. So it's definitely going to be interesting seeing what the Detroit Lions do here in the 2024 offseason. But let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you want to see the Detroit Lions do in this offseason. Do you want them to go after wide receiver in the draft? Do you want them to bring back DPJ? Do you think they should go after offensive linemen? Let us know down below. And on that, we'll see you guys next time.